That's me, playing Just Cause 3, getting shot out of the air, and dying again. I don't want this to be understated. I do not enjoy playing this game. It's wallpaper, visually unstimulating, and just kind of forgettable.
Yes, that is it. I hate this.
It has more rings to fly through than Superman 64 and all of the story depth of a James Patterson jacket flap. It's not the worst game I've ever played, but bad games are at the very least interesting.
Oh, yes! I hate this! It is revolting!
Just Cause 3 is boring, and at the end of the day, that's the biggest sin a game can commit. Doomed to fade into bargain bin obscurity next to Assassin's Creed Unity and Batman VR. But this isn't a review, it's a commentary on why Just Cause 3 keeps me coming back, despite all of the glaring issues it has. It's by no means a guilty pleasure game. It's not something I get some form of twisted satisfaction that would make people I want to impress judge me. It's just that I keep coming back here. I keep parachuting and blowing things up, and while I'm never progressing, I always seem to be playing. I feel like I'm constantly going through the motions with Just Cause 3, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. While it's not the exact reason why I keep coming back, it's one grappling hook wingsuit flip in the right direction.
More? Please.
While clunky, Just Cause has game feel in spades, whatever the hell that means. The controls come naturally and feel really nice, and while limited and occasionally awkward, the restrictions rarely deviate from the defined rules of play. And by giving well-mapped fluid controls for most movements, Rico, the man who looks like he smells like sweat, is an extension of me, the player. I'm the one swinging, zipping, and attaching one object to another and watching them fly at each other at breakneck speed. This is part of what makes the good Spider-Man games memorable and the bad ones forgettable. Having fluid, neat controls that allow for careful input really make the player feel involved. They feel like they're doing cool shit instead of watching the action unfold. But that's not enough to keep me coming back. I mean, obviously, because I'm almost a year into this game and I'm dumping endless hours into it, while the new Spider-Man game, which has better story, better controls, and better game feel, sits on my shelf collecting dust. So that's clearly not it. It could be that you can do literally anything. There are enough planes, trains, and automobiles to give Uncle Buck a run for his money, but cars handle like hockey pucks being pushed across a wool blanket, planes, while fun, are kind of tricky to handle, and you can't drive trains, so we're 0 for 3. Which is fine. There's so many ways to get around in Just Cause 3 that we aren't expected to drive like a damn local, but soar above them without a care in the world. That being said though, any form of precision driving goes out the window once you're above the speed limit, making staying on the road for races damn near impossible. But it's not like they actually matter, because they give us upgrades to vehicles we acquire from something called Rebel Drop, a sort of black market that operates on an arbitrary flare system and not the in-game point system. Which is unfortunate, because the Rebel Drop is the sole reason I would want to do any of these races, other than, just being the competitive type. But reaping the benefits feels unnecessarily complicated, so I can't be bothered. If these upgrades applied to all vehicles, I'd be super invested even if realism would be sacrificed, or as much realism as possible in a game about an Italian flying squirrel. I know I said I wasn't going to review this, but I really need to get this off my chest. I'm not playing Just Cause 3 because all the events it has to do, like say Burnout Paradise or another racing game like that. They don't matter. They're unnecessarily difficult due to development issues, and they feel like a distraction from the actual gameplay. A rigorous set of rules that makes you use the monkey bars when all you want to do is be that badass kid who runs up the slide backwards. See, Just Cause 3 is really busy trying to be so much. Grand Theft Auto clone, military shooter, Far Cry 3 competitor, an HD remaster of Superman 64, and it ends up doing none of that well. It's spinning a lot of plates, and while they are definitely plates that need spinning, all of them start to wobble once you try to put actual food on them. Which is a shame, because I want a Thanksgiving dinner and not a goddamn circus show. And I get that we're supposed to be cool and badass and not obey like traffic laws or whatever, but sometimes you have to, because the game is making you, and suddenly it's impossible to do anything you want in a game about doing what you want. Maybe I'm being overly critical, but shouldn't we leave the wonky driving to GTA 4? Back to the plate metaphor though, there really is one or two good ones up there. Like some real antique china is being spun by a circus clown, and once you get it down and put it on the table, it'll hold one hell of a turkey dinner. One that will keep you full for a long time. Just Cause 3 is a game of tools and freedom. Very early on in the game, we're introduced to the basic gameplay that's unique to the Just Cause franchise. This wingsuit, parachute, zip hook thing, and utilizing those as its most efficient means for movement and destruction. When Dakota talks about video games and I start to zone out, he often uses the term dominant strategy. And basically that's just a fancy word for saying the best way for the player to play the game is the way they're usually going to play it. That's an extreme oversimplification, but this isn't Game Theory 101 or a Mark Brown video or anything. We're just talking about a game with with explosions and parachutes. See, because the vehicles are so flawed, the story really doesn't matter and the gunplay is fine but not fine, I find myself using the grappling hook, wingsuit, and parachute almost exclusively. It's the easiest way to move throughout the game, and my ability to move is purely based on my skill. Games like Mirror's Edge Catalyst, which utilize a unique movement system, work based on getting around obstacles. They're at their core a platformer, which punishes for experimentation more than it rewards. Just Cause 3 is a skateboarding game. Its world has ramps to launch yourself from and rails to grind instead of ladders to climb. Movement matters, and for the most part is encouraged. Environments are rarely unstoppable obstacles and will almost never die from experimenting. When I say at the beginning of the episode that I keep on playing even after I get killed in a less than glorious way, it's because I always feel like there's a better way to use the tools at hand. That's how playability, let alone replayability, is encouraged in a generation where sandbox games are bogged down with liberations and time trials. It keeps the player coming home. Without it, Just Cause 3 is a boring GTA clone that's just a little into Che Guevara. Nothing it does beyond this is particularly unique, which makes it perfect for mind-numbing, straightforward, and fun gameplay.
Kick, punch, it's all in the mind. If you wanna test me, I'm sure you'll find the things I'll teach ya. Be sure to beat ya. Nevertheless, you'll get a lesson from teacher. Now kick.